Okay, we're going to look at buoyancy. And buoyancy is going to tell us how buoyant something is going to tell us if it floats high in the water, if it's floating low in the water, if it's just hovering underneath the surface, neutrally buoyant, or if it sinks. And the buoyant force is basically that force that resists gravity, usually in a fluid. Okay, so in this case, if I have something that's pushing down through the water with 5 newtons of force, but the buoyant force, that is for force sub B for buoyant force, is pushing up with 5 newtons, you have zero or neutral buoyancy. In other words, it's not going to sink all the way to the bottom, but it's not going to really float really high above the surface. And Archimedes' principles basically goes on to say that the weight of water displaced is the buoyant force. That's how much force upward it's going to push. And when you watch Bill Nye, which you should have done by now, they really went to explain all of that. So when we're looking at the buoyant force is equal to the weight of the object suspended. So in other words, whatever I put in, the buoyant force is going to be that. Now, if that force is greater than the buoyant force to hold it up, it can sink. So let's do some quick math. All right, here we go. Buoyant force in this case is 7 newtons, 7 newtons pushing up, but I've got 10 newtons pushing down. Therefore, as I look at that, 10 minus 7 is 3. So my force is 3 and it's greater down, which means this is going to sink. Okay? If it was the other way, it would float. So let's take a look at one like that. In this case, my buoyant force down is 6. My buoyant force up is 10. Well, 6 minus 10 is 4, but in the direction upward. So this is going to float. All right, we've seen now this is 0, so this is going to be neutrally buoyant. I don't know about you, but buoyant always messes me up, but it's B-U-O. All right, let's do the next one. So in this case, and this set of notes is always available in the notes at the bottom if you need it, we have 3 newtons being pushed down while the buoyant force upward is 3 newtons. And that's the same as that first one we did. In this case, 3 minus 3 is 0, and it's going to be neutrally buoyant. It's going to hover right in between. If you've got questions on calculating buoyant force, it's just simple addition and subtraction. Whichever way is greater is the way it's going to go. If it's greater with the arrow going up, it's going to float. If it's greater with the arrow going down, it's going to sink. As always, if you need assistance, please ask.